What's up? Alright. Back at it. I had to get off and take a shower and shit and take care of stuff. Now I'm back. I don't like this house. I want to change my house, but not now. I'm gonna do it later. This is just a temporary house.
Ministry of Defense throughout the UK and the world over Syria that there was in quote,
I'll listen to more UFO stuff.
It was shot
While
by
I
the Royal Air Force. This was the first
farm.
air-to-air firing from the Royal Air Force in 40 years.
Since the Falklands War, since the Falkland Islands War.
You know, we do have a strange image we want to show people today. We were able to confirm that this image that we have was associated with this event, meaning this is what we shot at. They labeled it Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon, UAP.
Secrets, cover-ups, and strange phenomena.
UFOs and ideas that challenge reality itself. All these mysteries, all this time. Are we ever going to get to the bottom of these?
When I get up there.
George Knapp. I dig into news stories that others can't or won't.
I'm Jeremy Corbell. For some reason, people tell me things they probably shouldn't. And this is Weaponized.
This is Weaponized. Jeremy, where the hell have you been? I've been in the studio for weeks and you never show up.
Right. Let's keep going with that, man. It has been hard. You have been traveling around the world, and you'll be able to tell everybody why later. But man, it sounds like you've had some really fun adventures, only one of which I'm glad I was not there. But so,
Today, I thought we'd talk about UFO shootdowns, both current events and historical perspective, because, you know, this is supposedly the age of transparency when the Pentagon and our government are telling us the truth these days. You know, right, truth. I'm using air quotes around that. But there have been peaks and valleys of transparency over the years, and there have been peaks and valleys of truth over the years, mostly valleys. And I thought if we're on the subject of UFO shootdowns, we could fill our audience in on some current events, very recent events that were either not reported at all or were misreported, and then give it some historical perspective as well. I dug up this headline from 1952. You recall the Washington, D.C. UFO overflight, very dramatic instances, 2 weeks in a row, flying over the White House, over Congress, Capitol Hill. Jets were scrambled. The Air Force comes out with a statement saying, move along, nothing to see here, folks. This was a temperature inversion, nothing more. The fact was that there was a Pentagon memo, and it was a headline back in 1952, jets keeping 24-hour alert for, quote, saucers. The subtitle was pilots ordered down objects.
Sounds perfectly normal.
The order was shoot them down. You see UFOs, shoot them down if they won't land, which we don't know any voluntarily landed. I know that in 1960, there was a front page story in the UFOs are serious business. Again, the national policy for our Department of Defense was, you encounter UFOs, intercept them, go after them, shoot them down. Now, we don't know what the policy is today, but we know that in February of this year, 3 objects were shot down.
This morning, questions after more unidentified
Weird.
objects discovered over U.S. and Canadian airspace. According to a senior administration official, this latest object was in the shape of an octagon, unmanned, and traveling near sensitive sites at an altitude of 20,000 feet.
One of them we know was a Chinese spy balloon. We don't know what the other 2 were, but supposedly nobody went out and tried to collect them. but it seemed to be the policy had changed again. What can we say about more recent events in other parts of the world?
Yeah, so I'm glad we're covering this UFO shoot down attempt issue, because people kind of really mocked me we're UAP, same thing, UAP UFO, that they're being shot at. Everybody's like, oh, that's crazy. He can't just say that. Well, you and I have been privy to some information, so I want to talk through what leads us to kind of say that kind of thing. One of the things we should do is reflect back on the 2019 events, right? We should,
West Coast.
Right, we should talk about that. We did a whole episode, I think it's episode number 2 of Weaponized. We had John Gutierrez on, and we were talking about the situation in 2019. We had witnesses on recording who were telling us kind of how that went down. What we were not clear about, I don't recall from that, there was attempts to bring down these, I'll call them units, these swarming of over 100 UAP on 10 Navy warships, but they were electromagnetic. They were things called like the Drake system or the Ghostbuster. These are kind of like, I guess, electromagnetic domes that are put over that stop these things in their track, or they're supposed to. The thing is on the USS Russell that was attempted, that to the best of my knowledge and sources, that's what I'm told, there were 5 times on these ships, there were different times where they tried to stop these incursions, right? This is not like shooting missiles or artillery, but they're firing at it with these electromagnetic weapons.
Under the assumption that they're drones.
Weird.
They're some kind of standard, or it may be foreign drones operated by China or Russia or something like that.
Right. Completely ineffective. Every time didn't work. And we've heard about that more and more and more with these swarming events have become so prevalent off of these destroyers and these craft that we're getting all of these reports. I think we should highlight where there was absolutely attempts to shoot down these UAP using these electromagnetic kind of weaponry, and that's we haven't talked about this publicly yet, but this is something that I hope we learn more about, and I'm sure people can find out more information on, so we're going to give them enough. 2021, late summer, off the coast of Japan is what I can say, a 300-mile radius of sea, no other ships, nothing around this vessel. It was the USS, you call it Milius. I'm going to be George Knapp here for a second. You taught me this a long time ago. You take your papers.
That's it. That's it.
Oh, okay, that's it.
Top news tonight.
Yeah, the top news tonight is I'm saying making the Lear film.
That's a newscaster move there.
Stack them on the table, newscaster, got my notes. Okay, so 2021, this is late summer, USS Milius. They had this event series that occurred where there were UAP that, just like the ballets that you saw around these Navy warships, but they're way out there, nothing for 300 miles, and these UFOs are kind of like dancing. So it was really annoying. They tried to take them down using, I'll just say, these electromagnetic, techniques. Totally ineffective. Again, this is like a recurring, theme, is that they're immune. They seem immune to our electromagnetic warfare. So that's an interesting thing to begin with, but it happened for like 4 or 5 nights. And the thing that really hit me was that, from all accounts, when you talk about the captain of the ship and everything, it was so frustrating at some point that they said, wave off, forget about it, stop even reacting to them, stop creating products and sending them up the chain of command. There's nothing we can do about this, and we're not going to drop an atom bomb over there. We're trying to figure out what they are. So this was happening for 4 or 5 nights. It was happening from about 1 a.m. till 5 a.m. or from midnight to 4 a.m. It was about a 5-hour window.
Multiple objects. 5 plus, and with extreme maneuverability, right? So they'd say that it would be in one place and then boom, it was right over in the next. They're acting like what we always hear about UAP. The difference with this case, the thing that really perked my ears up, besides all the confirmations we got that this is a real event, is that I was told directly that we got off-ship confirmation of these unknown UAP units. Now, reading between the lines a little bit there, what we are most likely talking about is a relay of satellite information. Now, of course, we're not going to get that imagery and that data, but it exists.
And the fact that that's not being properly reported, we have told people that need to know that this happened, we've told them about it so they can go and pursue.
So the ship personnel are seeing them night after night, multiple objects, 5 or more, buzzing around, incredible maneuvers, no sound at all.
No sound.
They're 300 miles from anything else. There's no, they don't see them being launched. They don't see them where they go. It's like the West Coast incidents. They were 100 miles out to sea. They could not see where these things came from. It was a whole swarm of UFOs, more than 100 objects buzzing 10 different ships. Couldn't see where they came from, didn't see where they went. I know people have tried to write that off as some kind of Chinese drone, that it came from a Chinese ship. We know for a fact that federal authorities got on that ship. There was no indication that any drones had been launched from there. They don't know where they went. They tried to use anti-drone technology to take them down, and it failed. Same thing happened with these ships off the coast of Japan.
In 2021, there are East Coast events, there are swarm events that occurred in 2023. There are swarm events that occurred in the South China Sea. So this is something that is happening globally and with an increased frequency. And people are frustrated who are to fight these ships because they don't have that, kinetic action triangle. They say opportunity, capability, and intent. But, absolutely you can use these electromagnetic things to try to bring things down. The thing is, though, is that this one that we're talking about it in Japan, when you were talking about 2019, we know people that boarded the Bass Strait to look, to see if they were landing and launching these. But remember, in 2019, that activity was still going when the Bass Strait was in port in Long Beach. We still don't know. If they were ours, embarrassing. That's what some of the people I'm talking about are saying. It's embarrassing, but the thing is, it's not. No one has taken claim. They've investigated that. Head of the Navy said it's not. If these are Russian or Chinese, we are screwed because of the capability, the apparent transmedium capability of these things. So whoever is launching these, in 2019 they were coming from the west. There's nothing over there but life, right? But this is even wilder to me, this Japan one, because you're 300 miles. And the exact words I was told is that there was no mothership. Now, I'm not talking about like a UFO mothership. I'm just saying there was no launch point. There's no ship that was launching these within 300 miles. And they have amazing radar systems to know if there's any ship in the area. So this case is a real head scratcher.
So the sailors are seeing them with their own eyes.
Yeah.
They are detecting them with various sensors on these modern warships.
Yep.
And then they had additional confirmation from something, an eye in the sky.
That's right, an eye in the sky. And, I think additionally with this one, the thing
Super
that really
weird.
got me, and this is part of what I think this episode for me today is about, is that the Snoopy teams, which are the teams that have to go to deck, they have to wake up, get their equipment, go out each night. It became such a distraction to the whole operation they were doing that they were just like, stop reporting it. Just stop reporting it. Don't make any more products.
So if the Snoopy team went out a couple of nights in a row, presumably there's some images that
There
were
are.
recorded at some point.
There are.
Public hasn't seen it.
Correct.
We don't know exactly what happened with that information. Where did those reports go? Did they go to Arrow or higher ups in the Pentagon? Why hasn't the public been allowed to know about it? Why hasn't Congress been told about this?
We
Oh, okay,
have
so if I
actually sent this
destroy-
information up the chain of command, which is so bizarre to me. We made sure that people had this information. They could then decide, is Arrow the right place to have this? They need to investigate this. These are unknown units. To our understanding, they do things that our typical craft can't do. But more importantly, we can't respond to them. We're ineffective in responding to these unknown units.
So, for our weaponized listeners out there who might be skeptical about this incident, we've given you enough information. Go get it. Go after it.
So if I put
Find out.
this
I've done a lot of
here?
interviews, and I know this event happened. It will probably take some time, if ever, that we get some of this imagery. But look, better than just you and me, like other people can now look into this. So that I wanted to make sure that we brought up. But there's another big thing I want to talk about today.
is that just
We
a
do have
decoration?
strange image we want to show people today.
That doesn't actually do anything.
Let's talk about that. Should we jump into that?
Yeah, so this is a
Never mind, I
conflict
don't
zone.
want
It's the
that.
Middle East, right?
Yeah.
And we've had some other images that we released on Weaponized from conflict zones that are highly controversial, but we think are pretty solid.
Yeah.
This one is equally solid, and and the public was misled in what this thing was. There was reporting about this. It was publicly reported all over the world, right?
Yeah, so there's a discrepancy, and that's
10?
what really hit me,
Oh, I don't have
think, is
10.
this discrepancy. So,
I actually
in
need to get 10.
2021, it was the 14th of December. It was reported across the media, from BBC to the Ministry of Defense, throughout the UK and the world.
BRB.
It was reported that on the 14th of December,
I gotta go to the bathroom. Give me a sec.
this is why I got my notes. I just want to make sure.
Okay, I'm back.
Yeah, it's the 14th of December. Over Syria, that there was, in quotes, a hostile drone that was shot by the Royal Air Force. It was shot at, I will say, by the Royal Air Force. It was, what's the type of ship again?
It was a Typhoon, Royal Air Force Typhoon.
Right, so that's the plane, a fighter plane. And I think the reason why it spread immediately the next day through the press and for the next 4 or 5 days is because this was the first air-to-air firing from the Royal Air Force in 40 years.
Since the Falklands War, since the Falkland Islands.
Oh, let's get let's
Big
disenchant
deal,
my
right? You fired
that stuff that I don't
$20,000
need.
missile. Allegedly, he took it down. That's a big deal. So across the world, you can look this up. You can look at the news reports. Adversarial drone, right? They were real coy at first with what it was they actually shot, but then it ended up saying drone, adversarial drone. So that's the story.
It was drone, it was hostile drone, then it became terrorist drone. Although no terrorist group claimed responsibility for it, no nation claimed responsibility for it, we have no idea whose drone this was, right? It's
Right.
mystery drone.
Right. And, look, I'm not expecting to be told everything by media, but I am expecting transparency. I'm expecting that they give us the accurate story. So, lo and behold,
All right.
in the course of our work, we're giving an image that is said to be of this thing that was shot down or shot at. And it looks really weird. Like, I'm not making any claims about it. It just looks really weird. I think we're calling it the Syria Dome UAP. And the reason we're calling it UAP is because
They call it UAP.
right. So here's the deal. In the media, you're told the shoot down of a terrorist drone or whatever. But intelligence community products that are shared amongst nations, so you can imagine like a Five Eyes report, and this passed in front of our eyes. We became exposed to this information, and we were able to confirm that this image that we have was associated with.
So now I
this
need to get some
event.
tin. Let's
This
get
is
some
what we
tin.
shot at. They labeled it unidentified aerial phenomenon, UAP. In fact, this was used as an example of UAP in a product, in an internal product. So on one hand, the media is reporting you've got this terrorist drone, but the entire intelligence community is saying these are UAP. We don't know who operate them. They have flight characteristics that are other than what we have. We see other nations firing upon the same objects, and it's really funny the way the language would be put in military realms, indicating it's likely not those nations firing at their own units.
Well, we do know that the Russians fired at something similar, right?
We do, and that's something I think we'll keep investigating. But look, Syria and Russia fire upon these UAP as well. We do too. The thing is, they're not reported properly. They're identified as something on one hand publicly, but on the inside it's identified as I mean bold and clear. These are examples of UAP, and something else shocking to me that we were exposed to in documents is that CENTCOM has been tracking UAP for over 15 years.
It's a long time.
That within the intelligence community, that is an admission or a statement about CENTCOM.
We saw this in writing. We are familiar with this. I don't want to get us in trouble. We do not have something that we can release. We're just telling you that publicly they say this is a terrorist drone. Privately, among allied nations that have forces there, they're saying something completely different. In 1952, it was a temperature inversion. Behind the scenes, they said it was flying saucer. Right. In 1960, it's some kind of a balloon, but yet they were saying it's alien craft and shoot them down. Now, in the current events, in current time, they're saying that it's drones, but behind the scenes, they're confiding in each other, these military forces, but these are unknown systems, and they've tried to shoot them down.
Right, and so we do fire on UAP. We don't know who operates these units. We don't know how they operate. We don't know the intent.
That's crazy.
The real capability.
That's actually crazy. That's actually happening. Whoa.
Recover that.
Nuts.
Frustrations we are hearing.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me though. It really wouldn't. It would, but it wouldn't. You know, it's like we live in a strange time.
That is within a certain proximity to our ground troops. So that makes sense, right? You're in a conflict, a potential threat. Yeah, you're in a conflict area and something comes within, let's say, 27 miles of ground troops or a base, or let's say they're over a restricted area. Oh yeah, we shoot at it just for occupying that airspace. But we also shoot at them if they appear to have a payload. And that's for good reason, because these bases are often targeted by terrorist groups that will strap on to like a DJI drone or something, some explosives, and there have been some major issues with that. But in this case, so that is why we would shoot at what's considered UAP. The thing is, there's no recovery. That was another frustration within, these individuals that kind of report to us or sources, is that there's major frustration. There's no process afterwards, and so they're being ignored, they're being improperly handled and improperly reported up the chain of command to CENTCOM.
It's important to emphasize this, that multiple nations in that region are detecting these things. We know Russia and Syria have detected them because Russia and Syria have shot at them. We know that the Russian Air Force Typhoon shot at it, presumably knocked it out of the sky, but nobody went and go to collect whatever records there might be. We know that the U.S. military saw two of these things at the same time. One of them that the Royal Air Force went after, the other one just zipped away and took off and disappeared.
Right, so this image which we'll show, it's the one that was actually historically fired upon, which is called like a terrorist drone. It's really weird looking, whatever it is, but it is classified as UAP within the intelligence community. This is not something that is identified. And so, should we show the image?
Yeah, let us see this drone.
It's really bizarre.
Let's take a look at it.
Okay, so, I was making a joke like Kermit the Frog, but we call it the Syria Dome UAP, And whatever this device is, there were two of them, right? And by the time the Royal Air Force
That thing looks
got up
weird.
and caught up
What
with
the
them,
hell is
they
that?
fired a ASRAAM missile, which is I think he uses heat seeking. The other one,
Advanced short-range air-to-air missile.
advanced short-range air-to-air missile. So what happens is by the time they catch up with this pair that were there under intelligent control, this other one just took off. It wasn't even in the vicinity. They did report that in the initial reports that there were two of them, but this is the one that was fired upon. Now, we don't know if it was hit. We don't know if it hit the ground. But again, I just want to drive home. This is the public's being told one thing. This is classified as a UAP within our government, within intelligence circles. So whatever it is, the public is not getting.
Well, I've seen a lot of images of drones, modern drones, military drones, private drones. I don't recall ever seeing a drone that looked like that. It looks like a mushroom cloud almost.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. Yeah, it's got the. I mean, look, it's a far away image from one of these fighter planes, and look, I'm sure there's video out there.
Oh well, the public will probably see it, as given all the transparency there is now.
So let me read you a couple things that I think are important for the public to know. For the past 15 years in CENTCOM, U.S. forces have tracked unidentified airborne objects, also defined as unidentified aerial phenomenon, traveling in the vicinity of, bases, I'll say. No actors claimed ownership of these UAP. All jamming directed at UAP, assessed unsuccessful. And that we have not recovered a UAP in this time frame or in this area to date. Really makes me wonder. It makes me wonder. We haven't recovered anything, and that's a real issue. But we know it was testified to in Congress that we have these secret recovery programs for UAP. You have to imagine people want to get these if we are capable of shooting them down, right?
Well, recovery of foreign technology has been a goal of U.S. intelligence for 100 years, and we've had active programs. There are rumored programs, Project Moondust and Project Blue Fly, that supposedly were tailored and created specifically to deal with downed UFOs. We don't really know for sure whether they were true programs or whether they recovered anything, but it is a fact that we recover foreign technology, take it back into a lab, place like Area 51, take it apart, reverse engineer it, and figure out how to defeat it going forward in the future. That is true. Those are real. Those are legitimate programs that are demonstrable and documentable, for sure.
Right. So one of the other things that kind of struck me is that due to an abundance of sightings, right, in this area, certain Base Defense Operations Centers, or BDOCs, no longer report UAPs, making the tracking and characterization of these events difficult. That's something they said to us. So if we have an influx or a ramp up of UAP unidentifieds in an area since 2021, which we know for a fact that is the information that is being passed around internally, that there's this ramp up. There's a whole bunch of events that we have seen information for during this time period. So it's basically making, because that's happening, they're not being reported. That divide is that the people that need it, from CENTCOM to maybe Aero, if they get their shit together, whoever needs this information, they're no longer getting it because it's not on mission. So people are tracking a lot of these UAP with extreme flight maneuverabilities, but it's not on mission to go after them. It's not on mission to figure out who's operating it.
Yeah, see, it's dangerous. So in that press coverage, the news coverage of this incident, the U.S. military had detected these two things. And they said it was assessed as demonstrating hostile intent and was shot down. Okay. And then in that same combat zone, that conflict zone, drones have been used to deliver dangerous payloads aiming at U.S. troops and allied nations as well. You would think that if you shot a $20,000 missile at some unknown UAS system or drone, mystery drone, you'd want to go out and see if you actually took it down. Look for wreckage and pick it up. Or if you're on a ship 300 miles off the coast of Japan, you're using the most advanced anti-drone system in the world, and you're not having much of an effect. You'd like to know why, because of the danger that somebody really could send a drone that's packing explosives and kill U.S. personnel.
Yeah, and also just the technology. So in 2019, when there were these swarms, I mean, I've even been able to find out that the helicopter pilots that went up, that they would see these things going into the water. And so if they have, whoever has this capability, you would imagine that the U.S. should be able to identify who this is. Another issue that I think is important to look at with this is crossfire. So we have been exposed to the information that says that some of the same units, right, were fired upon by other nations. Let's say Syria or Russia, let's say they fire on one of these UAP because it's in a certain area, and then we do too. It determines that it's not theirs and it's not ours. Like, whose are they? But that crossfire, that idea that we're cold firing upon these unknown units, that's dangerous, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, something could get out of hand. We have a lot of nations with forces in that area. It can certainly get out of hand if you shoot at something you don't know exactly whose it is. If they're shooting at them and we're shooting at them, then it doesn't belong to either one of us.
Right. And I think that's the whole designation of UAP. Like, and to be clear, in the documentation, the things we've seen, they know what balloons are. They know that, like, smugglers will use balloons.
Sure.
These things are highly maneuverable. If we were exposed to like radar data of these, or pilot logs that like tell you what pilots are saying when they're seeing these things, they're maneuverable. We don't know who's operating them. So yeah, that issue of crossfire is a big deal.
Have you heard any rumors about Russia having a plane chasing a UFO and the plane crashing? I mean, in recent times.
Yeah, you're gonna push on that, and I you know the same thing as me. But yes, we have heard that there was a recent downing of a Russian craft in pursuit.
But we don't have enough info to really report it just yet.
I don't think we do. I don't think we do. But it's something that has happened in the past, right?
Yeah, well, I can tell you for sure. I mean, I've reported it about Russia. The Ministry of Defense files that I obtained in the 90s.
Weird.
They had a standing policy to chase them, to intercept UFOs, to try to take them down. Colonel Borisokolov had told me that it's part of that 10-year-long study that the Russians did of the UFO mystery. 40 different times they sent warplanes after UFOs. 37 of those times the UFOs just zipped away and were gone. But in 3 cases, the Russian warplanes crashed. 2 of those pilots died. And after that, the order went out in Russia, leave them alone. Because in the words of General Igor Maltsev, that commanded the Russian air defenses, the UFOs might have, quote, incredible capacities for retaliation. So they changed their policy about shooting down UFOs back in the 90s.
Yeah. I'll tell you one
Any
last thing.
resin, deer hide,
No,
wood.
coordinated way to really deal with UAP incursions when it comes to like our ships. Back in 2019, out of all the ships, there was another set of information that I got where one of the ships, one of the captains, I guess, was thinking about firing, I don't know what you call it, is it the Gatling gun or something, the thing that shoots all the metal? And there, we had some of our craft in the skies that was like freaking out, like, is he actually going to fire this crazy weaponry when we have planes in the sky? So it just showed that we don't have a consistent way to deal with the UAP issue with these swarms, and I think we got a long way to go to figure out what these are, who these are.
Well, I mean, the policy might change from place to place, too. I mean, for a long time, we didn't know about any UAP shoot-downs over the U.S. We had 3 of them. Suddenly, and something changed, and we shot down 3 of them. We haven't heard about any other ones being shot down domestically, but you can imagine that your policy might be different if you're in a conflict zone.
Okay,
When
so
you're on
I
edge,
need
there's
resin,
possibility
I need
of
deer hide, I
terrorist
need fine
attacks,
wood.
Hamas, Hezbollah, something like that.
Got the hides, I need the
that might be
fine wood.
different.
You make a really good point.
Alright, let's get some
Depending on
firewood.
proximity of what's going on. That's why off the coast of California, we were a little bit more observational because we are in our own waters, right? So yeah, there would be a very different response. But typically it's, we shoot the electromagnetic warfare stuff. We try to down these things. Absolutely ineffective every time.
That's scary. That tells us
Yeah.
either it's a foreign threat and we need a new
That is
anti-satellite,
pretty
anti-drone
weird.
system, or it's something completely alien.
Is it true? I don't know. I saw that one of the things that Dr. Kirkpatrick said in kind of his, as he's exiting, is he said something like there's 2 options, that what we're seeing is either, you know, some kind of foreign technology or it's alien.
I actually thought that was a very positive thing,
Yeah.
because it essentially takes one option off the table. I don't know if he intended to do it, but he said it's either alien or it's foreign power. But he takes off the third option, which is it's us, a secret program that we're developing.
Wow.
That seems to me to be, that's progress, whether he intended it that way or not.
Yeah. So the 2019 was ruled out for sure. It's not us. So it leaves a couple very interesting options, both of which are frightening. So anyway, I just wanted to bring this case, to people's minds and kind of provide that information that in the main media, you get one story, just like you were saying back in the 60s, we became abundantly aware that that is not the story internally, that UAP are not being identified, that sometimes they're just being ignored because they're not on mission. And there's a lot of frustration within people that are out there and people that are engaging these. Maybe, people are frustrated. Like, there's an influx of UAP, was the point that was conveyed to us. There's an influx of UAP, and we're not handling it well.
Well, if there was a headline from this,
Yeah.
it maybe is not this drone shoot down. Maybe that's not the headline. The headline for me would be CENTCOM has been experiencing this for 15 years.
Right.
And they're sitting on that information. They don't know what to do with it.
Right. So yeah,
Huge.
It is huge, and we know that publicly people say things like the UK government will say, we stopped studying UFOs because they don't pose any direct threat, to us. I don't know how they come to that determination, and then there's a bona fide UAP out, over Syria, and they decide it's hostile and shoot at it. They call it a drone, but it is clearly defined and designated UAP and all the documentation that we are aware of.
We would like to be able...
It's just a bunch of baloney, right? They say one thing and then they do another thing, and it's just that's the way it is. You just know they're lying.
We can share that photo.
They're liars.
That's as far as we can go.
Yeah.
But other people can find it.
Yeah, and that
People in Congress can find it.
for sure. Yeah, and the image, as coming to us just as a sole thing, there's nothing that gives me pause to showing that. But also, it would not be morally or ethically correct if there was sensitive information for us to just dump that out into the public. But this is a case that I think people need to look at, and they need to, both of the ones we mentioned today, they need to look at and start asking questions and start trying to get more information about them, because we are not being told the truth through the media when there's a shoot at something like this.
One last thing.
Yeah.
A moment of silence for Sean Kirkpatrick, who's leaving Arrow.
Oh,
You read this?
I have read this.
I think we reported this 4 months ago that he was leaving at the end of the year.
We
Yeah.
did.
And now he's finally leaving. And of course, the Pentagon put out some weasel word statement in the days before. Oh no, we can't say that he's taken a job at Oak Ridge. 2 days later, they have to say, yeah, he did. He's leaving to take this job. He says he's accomplished everything he set out to do in his long 18-month tenure at the head of Arrow. That long, storied, historic career at Arrow. And it's moving along, but on the way out, he said
Long,
some things about
stoic
Dave Grush
career.
that sounded mildly encouraging, that
Right.
they're investigating some things. They've confirmed some of what Grush has alleged, apparently, even though supposedly they've never talked to Dave Grush. They've invited him to speak to him, allegedly.
It's just
multiple
all
times.
over the
Blown them
place,
off.
right?
What do you
They're
think
just
about
all
that?
over the
Yeah,
place.
David Grush is still going through his ICIG, process right now. Arrow could just go to the ICIG and get all that information. I am sure now that Dr. Patrick is out, but why? Also, here's the deal: he slammed him when he testified in front of Congress. You got a whistleblower who's putting himself out there at personal risk, and then you get Dr. Kirkpatrick slamming him. I am glad that he is removed and that there will be somebody else in there. I don't know if that's going to right the ship for Arrow. I don't know if that's going to change the function of Arrow, but I do think that his parting words, that some of what David Grush has said has been verified that those meetings actually happened. That was an interesting way to walk out of, you're about to walk out of your position, wasn't it?
Yeah. Also, Kirkpatrick dropped a hint that he's about to debunk or explain a transmedium instance. I have to believe, my guess it's going to be the USS Omaha splash video that we really reeled to the public. You think maybe it's Agua Dia?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so it'll be so interesting to see if they have found a solution to these trans-medium cases, because it really seems to be they're trying to find all these ways to pacify the American public. I would have better hopes than that. But if they actually found an answer, let's say, to the Omaha, that would be truly fascinating because a lot would have to be admitted if they decide they come to an explanation.
Yeah, I would think if they come up with an explanation that it didn't really go into the water, that's not debunking the strange, anomalous nature of the larger encounter. That thing, that Omaha thing, was what, 12, 14 feet wide? A
Yeah.
circle, no wings, no
And
no exhaust.
there are tons of. The thing is, I just don't. I know that's what you're thinking is that that's the case. They're gonna.
Yeah, if they can say it didn't really go in the water, therefore it's not a UAP.
Yeah. No, I just don't think that because that would stir up so many more people coming forward to provide more information about what happened. And look, we're all looking for answers. Like, one of my friends said to me, if it was U.S., embarrassing. If it was China or Russia that operated these units, scary. And if it's something else, interesting. So, I mean, it's like a funny way to say it. The thing is, I think they'll probably look at the Aguadilla case because that one is very, there's a lot of kind of fight over what actually happened in that footage. And it was recently released through Border Patrol, Customs and Border Patrol, even though it had been out for like a long time. So I don't know, man. Look, I hope Arrow gives more answers to the American public that are genuine and correct, but the misleading of how things are reported through the military to go to the papers, to go out to the media, just hostile adversarial drone, when they're saying something completely different inside. That UAPs are real, they're important, we don't know who operate them, and sometimes we shoot at them, and that this information is no longer going where it needs to go because there's such an abundance. See, that's the thing. The two things about these cases. Japan, 2021. It was happening so much, it's like a desensitization. Now, think about that. If you're having this happen and there's a desensitization on how to handle these,
Oh yeah, mystery drone. Yeah, pay no attention
that
to
puts us at risk, right?
Jeez.
And the same thing. If
That's
in this
crazy.
conflict area and over Syria and Iraq, if there's a desensitization to reporting, or if you're just, that it's a big problem, in my opinion.
Yeah.
it. Well, Dr. Kirkpatrick is leaving Arrow. We don't know exactly who the permanent replacement will be. We've heard some names kicked around.
Yeah.
It's got to get better. It can't possibly be worse. I mean, Arrow's created. It's now got a mechanism where whistleblowers who work and have knowledge of government programs, even special access programs, supposedly can share that information. Were I a whistleblower in a sensitive position and I would be risking maybe going to
Oh, I
prison
need the
for sharing
cultivator.
classified info,
How do I make
I'm not
that?
sure that I would
What
take
is
up
that?
Arrow and report to their new online form. I'm not sure I would trust them.
You can't even.
Or
they're not
cultivate,
even
whatever the heck
allowed
it's
to
called.
Accept any of that classified information. The whole reason it was set up, right? They're not even allowed to get that online. So it is a conundrum. But
Hold on a
least,
second.
there is a process people are using. That
I have to see
are
something.
putting formal complaints into the ICIG. Our friend Chuck McCullough, who's the former Intelligence Community Inspector General, I think he was the first one ever. He has taken on, from what we understand, some of these.
I need
clients,
corewood.
guess, and
I have never
Addition to
actually
they've got,
picked
he's
up
representing
corewood ever.
Yeah, more than a handful,
Good.
what I understand. Yeah. So hopefully that process will bring forward what everybody's looking for, which is let's find out if this is true. And the legislation, don't forget that. If the legislation, which is suit, it's got to be determined soon. If they can shake up some of these private industry that are
Okay,
holding
let's get some
these
corewood.
materials and craft, then it's
Wherever
a
it
new
is.
era. It's a new day.
Well, it's the era of transparency, Jeremy. That's what we hear from our government. That's just the spokesperson for the DOD says it's an era of transparency. So we can trust what they say, except when it comes to shoot downs.
Inch by inch, life's a cinch. Yard by yard, life is hard. We got to keep pushing, trying to find out more information, but we thought this was a worthy case. The juice is worth the squeeze. It is good we show this image, and it's good we alert people that they were told one thing, but internally in the intelligence community and in the Department of Defense, it's another.
So weaponized listeners and watchers, go at it. Go after it. We're giving you some information. Go chase it.
Yeah, I love that. We need help, man.
Yeah.
There's just no redwoods. Only furs everywhere.
Have so few, had so much to tell, but could say so little.
Following this is the weaponized presentation of Jeremy Bell.
Ugh. That was interesting. Oh, here's one. A pine. Oh. There it is. Finally. Oh. Well, that's maxed out. Any... Cool. Look at all the new build pieces. Whoa. Autumn birch sapling? Oh, the plains variant. Oh. Alright, well, let's plant these trees. Wait. I have the seeds on. Oh, beech are the other ones. That's what I need. Can pine grow here? If so, then I would gladly plant pine out here. Mushrooms. Where are the mushrooms? Ah, there's some.
Escape.
This is a
But
good
I've always
video.
thought of it as being a mirror
Yeah, I should
to
hear
what
it.
it means to be human. And we're here for such a short period of time. It's such a shame that human history is just replete with all kinds of horrors that we've visited upon one another. We can't wait to get rid of our fellow human beings throughout history, which is unfortunate. And I see a level of the hatred that I believe is being purposefully fomented via social media by external bad actors. I'm not wearing a tinfoil conspiracy theory hat here, but watch that documentary with the Russian that defected from Canada. I think the interview is from 1984, and listen just write defecting Russian 1984 Canada disinformation or whatever. Watch his interview and hear what he says about how America can be destabilized, but it will take a generation. Listen to what he says. This was in '84. And when smartphone technology came about in 2007, the iPhone was released in 2007, we now started carrying around the greatest disinformation and social programming device that ever existed. And we all willingly carry it. Now think about it. If you have people that have been running psyops for decades, toppling governments, changing regimes, doing whatever they want to do, what do you think they're going to do when everybody is willingly carrying pamphlets that we used to drop from the sky? Except these pamphlets are electronic and they have the entirety of all human information in them, and they're like a narcotic. Make no mistake, there's social engineering going on here, and it's been going on for a long time, and we're seeing the results of it all around the world in many different areas of society. But again, don't take my word for it. Think of it as an intriguing conspiracy theorist plot for some movie that you might not have seen yet. And look into it for yourselves. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get into the topic at hand. So many of you have heard of Coyote versus Acme. Now, I don't know about y'all, but when I was a kid, I loved Looney Tunes. And, you know, I liked Bugs Bunny, and, I did like Yosemite Sam and Fuffering Fucktash. I did love all of the Looney Tunes, but I think everybody's favorite, especially when you're a kid, is Wile E. Coyote. Sad Wile E. Coyote and his endless quest to bag the Roadrunner. And with the help of the Acme company that he bought all manner, I mean, Q Branch certainly did not work at the Acme company. The poor Wile E. Coyote bought so many products from Acme in the hopes that one day he was able to bag Wile E. Coyote. And he never did it. And the Acme company had a lot to answer for. So believe it or not, Coyote versus Acme is based on a 1990 essay, humorous essay, that appeared in the New Yorker magazine. And wouldn't you know it, I have it right here. I bet you thought I wouldn't. Oh no, I'm kidding. You knew I would. So here is the essay that appeared in the New Yorker. And let's delve into it, shall we? So we can get a better idea of what this actually is. Now, this was written. Let's see if I can find the actual. It was written by Ian Fraser, and it was published February 18th, 1990. Now, Ian Fraser has a book that collects a bunch of humorous essays that this was actually in. So, it's hilarious. And it's obviously set up like a court document in the United States District Court, Southwestern District, Tempe, Arizona. Case number B19294. Judge Joan Kajava presiding. Wile E. Coyote. Wile E. Coyote. I always said Wile E. Coyote, but it's Wile E. Coyote. Who are we talking about? Wile E. Coyote, plaintiff. Acme Company, defendant. Opening statement of Mr. Harold Schloff, attorney for Mr. Coyote. My client, Mr. Wile E. Coyote, a resident of Arizona and contiguous states, does hereby bring suit for damages against the Acme Company, manufacturer and retailer distributor of assorted merchandise, incorporated in Delaware and doing business in every state, district, and territory. Mr. Coyote seeks compensation for personal injuries, loss of business income, and mental suffering caused as a direct result of the actions and/or gross negligence of said company under Title 15 of the United States Code, Chapter 47, Section 2072, Subsection A, relating to liability. Mr. Coyote states that on 85 separate occasions, he has purchased of the Acme Company, hereinafter defendant, through that company's mail order department, certain products which did cause him bodily injury due to defects in manufacture or improper cautionary labeling. Sales slips made to Mr. Coyote as proof of purchase are at present in the possession of the court, marked Exhibit A. Such injuries sustained by Mr. Coyote have temporarily restricted his ability to make a living in his profession of predator. Mr. Coyote is self-employed and thus not eligible for workers' compensation. Mr. Coyote states that on December 13th, he received of defendant via parcel post 1 Acme rocket sled. The intention of Mr. Coyote was to use the rocket sled to aid him in pursuit of his prey. Upon receipt of the rocket sled, Mr. Coyote removed it from its wooden shipping crate and, sighting his prey in the distance, activated the ignition. As Mr. Coyote gripped the handlebars, the rocket sled accelerated with such sudden and precipitate force as to stretch Mr. Coyote's forelimbs to the length of 50 feet. Subsequently, the rest of Mr. Coyote's body shot forward with a violent jolt, causing severe strain to his back and neck and placing him unexpectedly astride the rocket sled, disappearing over the horizon at such speed to leave a diminishing jet trail along its path. The rocket sled soon brought Mr. Coyote abreast of his prey. At that moment, the animal he was pursuing veered sharply to the right. Mr. Coyote vigorously attempted to follow this maneuver, but was unable to due to the poorly designed steering on the rocket sled and a faulty or non-existent braking system. Shortly thereafter, the unchecked progress of the rocket sled brought it and Mr. Coyote into collision with the side of a mesa. So this article goes on. You can find it in the New Yorker, NewYorker.com, Coyote versus Acme. If you would like to read it, I strongly suggest reading it because it's very fun. So this was an article that was written in 1990, and as Hollywood is wont to do, like something like Top Gun, which was based on a magazine article, they finally decided years later, over 30 years later, to turn this into a movie. James Gunn was a producer, and he has a writing credit on the screenplay. Now look, I understand some of you cynics out there might say that this is a one-joke movie, but they made the movie. And believe it or not, the movie was supposed to come out the day that Barbie came out. They changed the release date, they pushed Barbie up and moved Coyote versus Acme off that date. Now, according to news reports, which I'm going to get to in a minute, Coyote versus Acme had in the 90s, it scored in the 90s at test screenings, which is really good. And so here's what I find really interesting. If you've got a movie that you test screen that's in the 90s, that's really pretty much a bona fide hit. You got to hit that. Now, Warner Brothers, obviously, when Warner Brothers merged with Discovery, Warner is carrying a massive debt load. Now, I am no financial whiz, but they're like literally $50 billion in debt. And with the way the streaming services work, and obviously you can't just making up $50 billion, you know.
That's so much money. They're
pull that out
50
of your
billion
ass.
in
You
debt.
have to figure out
Holy,
ways
how
to
did
cut
that
costs
happen?
or whatever.
Sheesh. That's
So,
some serious debt.
this
$50
movie,
billion.
like Warner Brothers' job is to make content. And nowadays,
Oh my
you
goodness.
make content that is good. We've talked about this forever on this
I know
show
that they
for
had
5
that
years.
one
We're coming
game
up
that
on
came out
the
recently.
show's
The
5-year anniversary. As a matter of fact, it might have just passed. I have to go back and look and see what
Smash
Rob
Bros.
Tracy's episode 1
game,
aired,
right?
5 years, our 5-year anniversary show. We should do that.
Warner
We'll do
Brothers.
that. I'll do it in December regardless. But so anyway, you know, if you're making a movie and you release it theatrically, that's what gives a film its value. You know, and some people would say, well, Rob, sometimes movies don't make money theatrically. Like, look what happened to Shawshank Redemption. Well, that didn't make any money, but it went on. Didn't make any money theatrically. But during the era of home video and DVD, Shawshank Redemption is one of the most beloved films of all time. And by the way, the reason that Shawshank Redemption, they didn't know how to market that movie. How do you market Shawshank Redemption? On the poster, they didn't even want anyone to know it was based on a Stephen King story, and they didn't want anyone to know that it predominantly took place in a prison. If you look at the actual key art, the advertising, you have topless Tim Robbins standing in the rain. Shawshank Redemption. What the fuck did that mean? Who came up with that ad campaign? Guess what? You failed. You failed it. You had one job and you failed. But anyway, so anyone that has watched Looney Tunes in their lives, which is, I don't know, the whole fucking planet Earth.
Pretty much.
Anyone who had any knowledge of this.
Pretty
in
much.
1990, you know, our boy Ian here, he wrote this humorous essay that is hilarious. And by the way, this is one of my favorite. I don't know what this genre is. When you take something fantastical and you bring it down to earth. What is the name of this genre? It must have a name. When you take something that's totally a flight of fancy, you bring it down to earth and you try and make it part of the real world. That's what I love. Whatever that genre is, I don't know if it has an official name or what, but I love this genre. And so I love articles like this. And I remember reading this article when it was new. And it was funny because I haven't really been charting that this movie is, but there's been people, Ben David Grabinski, a guy I know who is instrumental in the new Scott Pilgrim animated series. Congratulations to Ben David Grabinski and all of his cast and crew on that, and to everybody who's involved. I can't wait to see that. This one, right? So, you know, even he said, I guess he's seen the movie, and it's a combination of it's got a Roger Rabbit element to it. I'm sure the Coyote is, of course, animated, and everybody else is it's live action, so it's a combination Roger Rabbit style. With a great script, and with James Gunn writing the script, I'm sure, and other people obviously, I'm sure that the movie had a really clever, very funny script. And anybody, here's what I don't understand. What this movie does, in my mind, and the reason it was greenlit in the fucking first place, is because it adds value. Just like Space Jam, I mean, whether you like Space Jam 1 or Space Jam, the second Space Jam, all of this stuff, because there are people that like those movies, but it adds to the continuum of a Warner Brothers property. Now, I've often said that pop culture has a half-life.
Keeps the brand alive, pretty much. Gotta stay relevant, right? With new stuff every now and then.
You have 8 billion people who have access to the libraries of these companies. And there's no reason why, like, say, Looney Tunes, which are essentially period pieces because they took place at a certain time, they'll never get old. I mean, kids, adults, you can watch Looney Tunes. I mean, I still watch Duck Amuck. If you haven't seen Duck Amuck, go watch Duck Amuck. It never gets old. It never gets old. And to me, Coyote versus Acme, I mean, again, I haven't seen it. But let's delve into, so this movie got made, it was going to come out this summer, Barbie took its slot, and all anybody knew until last week was that it was still coming out. And then something shocking occurred. You all know, but we're going to delve into it. I got articles ready to go. And here it is. Here's the first article. Comes to us from Deadline. And let me find. I've got 4 articles to read that will take us on a journey.
Fill her up.
Of what has been going on. Here's the first article.
Okay. BRB. Let me get some drink.
Look at that ad from Godzilla.
Well, that's going.
Can I just wax rhapsodic for a minute? I don't know if you guys have seen the clips from Godzilla -1, but holy Jesus. These are the best special effects I've ever seen in a Godzilla movie, and along with Planet of the Apes and James Bond, before Star Wars came out, Godzilla was my jam, along with those other franchises, and everyone's saying this might be the best Godzilla movie ever. I love that the Japanese kind of saunter in with their $15 million Godzilla movie. It's coming out in IMAX. $15 million Godzilla -1 cost. And that shit looks so dope. And of course it had its American premiere the other night in Hollywood in LA. And everyone's saying this is like the greatest Godzilla movie ever. Frosty, Steve, Collider Steve, Frosty. He tweeted to me, he said, or texted to me and said, you gotta see this movie, it's incredible. So, I will, probably many times. So here was the article that Anthony D'Alessandro wrote on November 9th. In another maneuver by the David Zaslav, or as we like to say, the axe of Zaslav, by the David Zaslav-run Warner Brothers Discovery to kill movies, we hear on very good authority that Warner Brothers will not be releasing the hybrid live-action Coyote vs. Acme, with the conglomeration taking an estimated $30 million write-down on a $70 million production. So they spent $70 million and they're going to take a $30 million write-down on a $50 billion debt? Guys, that's like an eyedropper of water into a bucket. I mean, what the hell is that going to do for you? We understand the write-down for the pick was applied to the recently reported Q3. This represents the 3rd time that Zaslav's Warner Brothers has pulled the plug on a movie green-lighted by the
Giant
Warner administration.
mace.
The other 2 being the Max Destin Batgirl and the animated Scoob Holiday Hunt. Right. The difference here is that Coyote vs. Acme is a completed movie with very good test scores. 14 points above the family norm. We're told that the cash-strapped Warners finds that it's not
two-handed.
worth the cost
I have to make
release the film
that.
theatrically or to sell
to
to
make
other buyers.
that.
And
The
there are
battle
parties who are
axe.
interested
Oh
in
my
promoting these
god.
services. We have
Actually, I
to
have to
get
make
Amazon
the
kick
axe.
tires and light the fire. Okay, let's stop right there. We're told that the cash-strapped Warners finds that it's not worth the cost to release the film theatrically or sell to other buyers. They released The Flash, okay? I'm just saying. They released Black Adam. They released Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Those movies cost 3 times each. Well, maybe not 3 times each, but then Coyote vs. Acme. And I think this is the theory that I'm going to present to you right now. I think that whatever fucking analytics, and I've been saying this on stream, so you've heard me say it before, I'm going to say it again. Whatever fucking analytics they're running, okay? Analytics only work with, you have to analyze previous things that are like whatever it is that you're releasing. And supposedly these analytics are going to tell you what is good or what is bad. And you can make a judgment. I am willing to bet that whatever fucking dumb analytics that they ran to tell them.
How does this
that
work?
they're
It works, but I don't know how, but it's working.
Family film Coyote vs. Acme that has a lot of great talent, both in front of and behind the camera. Some dumb fuck ran some stupid fucking analytics, and I'll say it because this decision makes absolutely no sense. Warner Brothers has a half-century legacy, but then again, nobody at fucking Warner Brothers knows anything about Warner Brothers, as evidenced by their 100th anniversary. Jesus fucking Christ. You buy all this, it's no wonder their stock price. The people that are running the entertainment companies, all of them are, I gotta say, the only people that are smart, which is tough for me to say because, you know, I made DVD special features at Fox. I won't get into who was there when okay. I'm just saying. Sony knows what's up. They know what's up. Paramount, read an article today that James Wallace sent me about Paramount being on the chopping block. Of course it's on the chopping block. You know why it's on the chopping block? Because you've been making that fucking terrible Star Trek stuff, except for season 3, since 2017. If your Star Trek shows were as good as your Taylor Sheridan shows, could have had something there. Wah, wah, wah. Anyway, it is unbelievable to me how the entertainment business is in free fall. But it's in free fall for this reason. Somebody decided, ran their fucking analytics, and they decided that Coyote versus Acme, and I'm saying this without seeing the movie. I'm going out on a limb here. Like I went out on a limb with Picard season 3. I'm going out on a limb, but I'd seen that multiple times. I haven't seen this, but I would just assume, just by reading the first 2 paragraphs of the fucking New Yorker article in 1990, maybe somebody should have read that, whoever did these analytics, and said, oh, that's a great premise.
So they're not gonna release a movie?
You know why people read
But it
books?
sounds like I
I've said
want.
it before.
It sounds
On the
great.
show. The
I want to
reason
see
I
that.
would pick a book up and decide to read it was because I'd read the back cover. I never judged a book by its front cover.
Why do they make such stupid decisions all the time? I swear. These executives, they just make such a stupid decision after one after another
Or if
after
it was a
another.
hardcover by its inner flap. If whatever I read on the back of the book. book, and when it came to science fiction, fantasy, and horror, if it had an intriguing kernel of an idea, something not just there's monsters in the woods, that's fine, but if there were monsters in the woods for an interesting reason, kind of like the book The Woods Are Dark, or something like that, but if there was, then I'd be like, oh, you know, give me a
Oh,
little
you can just get rid of it. Neat.
you know, on something.
Cool.
And if
Cool.
Coyote versus Acme is one of those things where the idea that Wile Coyote takes the Acme company to court, that's a fucking winner. Do you know what that is? That is a pitch that Warner Brothers buys in the fucking room. Now, for those of you, here's I don't know if this is apocryphal or not, but here's how James Cameron pitched Aliens to Fox. He walks in. This is the way it might not be exactly this way, but I've read it that it was this way, and I just want to believe it's this way. Here's how James Cameron pitches Aliens to 20th Century Fox. He walks in. There's a room of all the Fox executives. He walks into a room. There's a chalkboard, right? He picks up a piece of chalk and he writes Alien on the chalkboard. And then he just puts an S next to Alien and draws 2 marks to make the S a dollar sign. Fucking sold. Make it rain right in the room. Coyote versus Acme is one of those ideas that, boom, you buy that in the room. It's irresistible. And when you have the right people writing a script, I mean, that can be hilarious. Hilarious.
Man, that would have been a great
You know, I
movie.
wanna
I'm
see the
really
movie
sad now. I would
just because
have,
of
yeah, I would
that.
have
Now, it
loved
might
to
be
see
a
that.
huge
Way
letdown.
more than,
I mean, maybe
honestly, way more than
it's
Barbie. Barbie
a
didn't
very
interest
hot
me at
film,
all.
so
I know
we'll
that's
get
probably a
that
hot
without
take
it.
because I know a lot of people are like,
But I'm
oh,
just
Barbie,
saying
but
that
you know,
it could have been
sorry,
so
I'm not
let's-
really interested in Barbie.
let's read
But
from this
that's
article,
it's
'cause
cool.
This story is
You
really
know,
interesting.
it's cool.
The difference here is that Coyote
cool.
versus Acme is a completed movie with very good test scores, 14 points above the family norm, and we're told that the cash-strapped Warners finds that it's not worth the cost to release the film theatrically. I mean, at one point, Coyote vs. Acme was dated for theatrical release on July 21st, 2023 before getting pulled. That date was taken by Barbie, which went on to become Warner Brothers' biggest hit of all time at $1.4 billion worldwide. With the relaunch of Warner Brothers Animation in June, the studio has shifted its global strategy to focus on theatrical releases. Gosh, you think? What a shock! Movie studio decides to focus on theatrical releases. What the fuck clown car world do we live in? Yes, of course. That's what you should do. Anyway, with the relaunch of Warner Brothers Pictures Animation in June, the studio has shifted its global strategy to focus on theatrical releases, said a Warner Brothers spokesperson. With this new direction, wow, honey, we've been together, honey, for too long. That's a Prince song called New Position. I was going to sing New Direction, but never mind. With this new direction, we have made the difficult decision not to move forward with Coyote vs. Acme. We have tremendous respect for the filmmakers, cast, and crew, and are grateful for their contributions to the film. The fuck? We're grateful for their contributions? Fuck you! They made a good movie. It's got great test scores. I mean, it has everything that you want. It has a great premise. It's part of your 50-year-old, more than 50-year-old animation brand. I mean, Animaniac, fucking the Animaniacs would have done a better job. You should have just climbed up in the water tower, knocked on the WB shield, and been like, guys, can you sell this movie to the public? Yes, we can. They would have done better than these fucking assholes. Anyway, how ironic. David Zaslav was involved in getting a new 3-year deal between AMPTP and SAG-AFTRA's exhibition and the Burbank Studios. We're starving for a theatrical product in 2024, with several titles moving and leaving gaps. Certainly, there's money to be made on a finished film based on Looney Tunes IP. The 2021 sequel, Space Jam: A New Legacy, theatrical day and date model on Max during the pandemic. Still, the movie made $70.5 million domestic and another $93.1 abroad for $163 million global take. That was during the pandemic, and they did day and date release, and it wasn't that good. I mean, and that movie was a hell of a lot more expensive than $70 million. I'm told that, not me, but Mr. Anthony D'Alessandro, I'm told that a Max launch of Coyote vs. Acme isn't a proper platform for the movie. There's been buzz out there that the Gary Dauberman directed, James Wan produced feature take on Stephen King's Salem's Lot, once destined for a theatrical release, is going to Max as the streamer needs product due to the inventory deficiencies created by the strikes. I've heard the movie just isn't that good. I want it to be good. We saw a trailer for it at CinemaCon 2 years ago. It had some really cool stuff in it. I've heard it's not so good, but that's all. Warner says in regards to Salem's Lot that the jury is still out and the brass hasn't determined the vampire pic's fate yet. Still, King is a brand name at the box office, and this is one of his classics. Yes, but it has to be good. Let's be clear. Salem's Lot, how do you fuck that up? That was some of the scariest shit I ever saw, and it was on fucking TV. Thank you, Toby Hooper. And horror works vibrantly at the box office post-pandemic. Well, unless you fuck things up like Exorcist Believer and Stephen King's Salem's Lot. Surely a $10 million bare minimum box office opening isn't the worst thing in the world for a movie that will get legged out on Max, but it boils down to whether Warner wants to shell out $40 million in marketing costs. Bro, you guys don't have to shell out shit for marketing costs because you've caused such a hullabaloo in the press that it's done its marketing for you. Look, right now, please send me a check for talking about Coyote vs. Acme. I don't get a check, but I made this whole show about your fucking dumb decisions, and I'm promoting your movie that I'm telling people that I want to see it, and I haven't seen it. I want to see it. I'm telling people right now, go see this movie. I want to see it. Directed by David Green and written by May-December scribe Sammy Birch, as well as DC Studios co-boss James Gunn and Jeremy Slater, Coyote vs. Acme is based on the Looney Tunes characters and the New Yorker humor article Coyote vs. Acme by Ian Frazier. Will Forte, John Cena, and Lana Condor star in the movie, which follows Wile E. Coyote after Acme products fail him one too many times in his dogged pursuit of the Roadrunner, and decides to hire a billboard lawyer to sue the Acme Corporation. The case pits Wiley and his lawyer Forte against the latter's intimidating former boss, Cena, but a growing friendship between man and cartoon stokes their determination to win. What the fuck? What? Who's shelving this movie? Why are you shelving this movie? I mean, look, it might not
for
be a great
real.
movie. I will grant you that. But that's a winning. That's a winning description. I'd see that fucking movie. You know, I'm an easy lay. I'm theirs to lose. Show me that shit. Who decided to scrap this film? But we'll get into it. We're told that director Green is still working with Warner's on another project that's in the works at New Line. Why the fuck? First of all, why the fuck would anybody want to devote 2 years? It usually takes about 2 years to make a studio movie. Why would anyone, or if you take the time that since the article was written, it's now taken 33 years to get the movie made, and they fucking shelved it. Imagine if you're Ian, a boy Ian, who wrote the original essay that it was based on. You know, he gets to tell his family and friends, "Oh my God, Warner Brothers making this movie! Oh my God, James Gunn finally wrote it about Will Forte." And then he has to go home and tell his mom this. I mean, this is every movies that people want to see, and they don't get out to the theaters. They'll watch it on your streaming service. Anyway, since its relaunch, Warner Brothers under the new Zaslav administration is eyeing 2 picks annually starting in 2026. The division recently announced a partnership with Locksmith Animation with Bad Fairies and the Lunar Chronicles, currently in development, along with feature-length animated films based on the beloved Dr. Seuss classics, The Cat in the Hat, and an animated musical adaptation of Oh, the Places You'll Go. Okay, I love The Cat in the Hat. I'm just saying. So they're going to make The Cat in the Hat, Oh, the Places You'll Go, and a movie called Bad Fairies and Lunar Chronicles. And you've shelved Coyote vs. Acme? Come on. I've got one for you, and all you kids out there. It's the Christmas season, and one of my favorite Christmas books that I would love to see turned into a movie is Robert Devereaux's Santa Steps Out. You really had any balls, you'd make a animated phantasmagoria of Robert Devereaux's novel Santa Steps Out, which now apparently has sequels that I haven't read. But do yourself a favor. If you can find a copy, well, I've got the original copy, but if you can find a copy of Santa Steps Out, get it. Read it. You'll never look at the Tooth Fairy the same again. Anyway, so that's the story. They shelved the movie. You figured, oh, it'll be over there. It's over, right? Shelve the movie. You know, you're putting it away, showing that nobody should ever trust anybody that works with your studio ever again to put their lives on the line. Okay, there's more to this story coming up. More to this story. Now, I'm gonna, before I move on, I'm gonna see if there's any super chats or tips from anyone, and we're gonna answer those. Tom Jr. Jackson says, first observations was November 18th, 2018. Wow, that's 4 days. Okay, thank you for that, Tom Jr. Jackson. November 18th will be our anniversary show, the 5th anniversary. That's pretty cool. Oh, it was November 10th, so I missed it. Shit, 4 days late. Oh well, we'll celebrate it in December. Really, November 10th, huh? What are you gonna do? Medicated Movie Review says, mad respect, Rob. Thank you for that. I do appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's very nice.
Dude, I'm planting a freaking forest.
So
That's gonna pay off because I'm gonna need all this wood.
Has been a member of this channel. Thanks, Kinky Sphincter. Member at 34 months. Kinky Sphincter. Wow. You know how much I like a Kinky Sphincter. A lot. Anyway, so there you go. I'm caught up there. Let's go to the next part of this story because it gets even more interesting as...
Oh, that's all of them. All right.
So here's another article. Now this actually is on the actual 5th episode of this channel. We're going to read this article. Here's a new article. Oops, already did it. Here it is. Coyote vs. Acme composer Stephen Price slams Warner's for bizarre anti-art studio financial shenanigans over the picture's axing. Director Dave Green is beyond devastated. Now remember, kids, what do I always say? This is not show friends, it is show business. And if you're not doing good business, you're not, movies are a product like anything else. They're widgets, according to the studios. And now that studios are playing the Wall Street game, that's really all they are. I've always liked movies because they're a collision of art and commerce.
Oh,
And
it did grow.
the
Look
fact
at
is,
that.
people love movies. Movies are magic. Movies are dreams. Dreams cost a lot of money, more money than they've ever cost. So I get it. And that's why people are attracted to movies, not just because of what they are, but people believe that working in show business, it's sort of this mythical realm. It's maybe one of our weird Mount Olympuses that we have. If you're able to ascend to the heights in Hollywood, you get everything you want. The power of the gods. I'll tell you, that is true. Because at the end of the day, you know what happens? So even if you win an Academy Award and you're at the height, you're going to the Vanity Fair party. And, that's my dream. I've never been to the Vanity Fair. I would love to go. I really want to meet Graydon Carter. I really do. I always have. I'm a big fan of Vanity Fair. I read that magazine. I still read the magazine. Let's face it, it's not the same as it used to be. I'm just saying, I'd love to go to their Oscar party. I've never been. It's one of my dreams. And if you get to go there, if I get to go to the Vanity Fair Oscar party, I'd like to do bumps in the bathroom off, some starlet's breasts. Go all the whole hog. But make no mistake, the next morning when you get up hungover, you're still the same person. And it drives people crazy. They come to Hollywood with all these dreams, and they think that by achieving their dreams, that they're going to somehow become a different. That you get to find some magic door and walk through it. It's like, oh! It's not like that. It's not like that for anyone. Even the most famous people in the world, it's probably more annoying than anything else to be famous, but what they get to do is work on their art. And that's what I love, the process. The process, finding projects. I'm working on our new low-budget film, White Devils. People think it is. But I'm actually editing myself. I had to body double for one of our characters who gets flogged to death with a whip called a shot block. Rhinoceros hide. Nasty piece of work. But Vincent Guastini did the effects, and I shot second unit. I was trussed up. I had all these makeup on my back. It was really like 12 Years a Slave was incredibly disturbing. But it was like that. I was getting flogged, and there was blood pouring down. I'm editing myself. It's not me. It's our character. It's the magic of editing. But it's still fun to do. And look, I mean, it's low budget. You know, I'm not getting any glory from it, but it's still fun to do because I love the process. But anyway, Hollywood is all about work. It's people work really, really hard. And all we have, though, at the end is our movies. And the thing is, if you're working for a studio whose business is making films, making profit from movies, and by the way, making profit from movies is not easy. You might think it is, because we only hear about, oh, they made $1 billion at the box office. It's incredibly difficult. There's many different revenue streams, and it's harder than ever to make profits from movies. So remember, it's a tough business, a very tough business. But Warner Brothers is in the business of making money. So I understand they have a huge debt load that they're trying to, for their shareholders. It's all about shareholders, debt load, and everything. And what's dangerous, you know, it's really funny. I keep thinking about Wall Street. Gordon Gekko, you know, who, like Blue Star Airlines. He bought Blue Star Airlines, and he was going to part it out, sell it off. You know, and Bud Fox was, you know, says to him, Gordon, like, why are you going to wreck this company? Why are you going to do that? He's like, because it's wreckable. You know, because he's going to make more money wrecking the company. He doesn't want to build anything. All these guys you want to make some money. Okay, what are you going to do when you're rich? You know, okay, great, you've got an American Express black card. I appreciate that. I respect you did enough work to get an American Express black card. But the more important thing is, when you get up on Saturday morning, you pour yourself a cup of coffee. Do you enjoy being alive? Do you like living in your own skin? That's what's really important. You know.
Yeah.
Let's get
pretty
back.
much.
I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm off track. Let me get
Way
back
off
going.
track.
I'm rambling. Let's go back on track to this article. Another article, Anthony D'Alessandro, November 10th. My point was, I understand studios want to make money. That's their job. That's why they make movies. Their product that they sell are movies and TV. Entertainment.
What the heck?
They work. You know, Warner Brothers could have made a lot more money if they put out Blu-rays and 4K retransfers of their old catalog titles for their 100th anniversary. I don't know, things like Excalibur. Everybody who has a 4K disc player would have bought that. What about The Right Stuff in Dolby Atmos? You know what
Where am I
going
gonna
to
put
They
this?
look at me and go, what's this? Jesus fucking Christ. David Zaslav, fucking dumbass. I'm sorry, man. Anyway, he doesn't. If you told him, hey, you know, The Right Stuff is one of my favorite Warner Brothers movies, he'd look at you and go, The Right Stuff based on that song? Coyote vs. Acme composer Stephen Price has blasted the David Zaslav cost-cutting Warner Brothers Discovery Administration for axing the Looney Tunes hybrid live-action animated film. Price, who won an original score Oscar for Warner Brothers' tentpole Gravity in 2014, took to X to say, I had a lot of fun scoring Coyote vs. Acme. So, okay, we have an Academy Award winner who scored Coyote vs. Acme, who's now going on social media and saying this. I had a lot of fun scoring Coyote vs. Acme.
It's fucked up, dude.
And
Why did they
no
cancel
one-
the movie?
So, here's another thing.
After all the work they put into it.
When you're doing what Warner Brothers is
This
doing,
is the
when they're
problem.
writing a
This
film
is the
up,
kind of shit. This is the
This
problem
is
with the
the
industry
part.
right here. That people
Everything
do
is
stuff like this.
every shred. So the movie needs to be like disappeared. It's literally like Jimmy Hoffa. They're going to put it all into a 50-gallon drum, fill it with concrete, and bury it underneath whatever skyscrapers.
So
built
dumb.
downtown LA. It all goes away. All of the work, all the people did. And on movies now, with all the effects people, all the animators. I mean, all we ever get, the satisfaction that people make movies get, is to see our movies connect with the public. More than money, do you know what people? I mean, yeah, okay, we all like making money from our work, but when let me tell you something. When somebody walks up to you and made a movie that they like, it means the world to hear it, especially 25 years later or 30 years later. I worked on a movie called Arcade for Full Moon. It was the first movie I edited with Peter Billingsley, and I still get people, I love that movie when I was a kid. It never gets old. But anyway, Price, who won an original score Oscar for Warner Brothers' tentpole Gravity in 2014, took to X to say, I had a lot of fun scoring Coyote vs. Acme, as no one will be able to hear it now due to bizarre anti-art studio financial shenanigans. I will never understand. Here's a bit of behind-the-scenes footage of our meep meep Roadrunner choir with apologies to Tchaikovsky. Okay, listen to this. There's a meep meep Roadrunner choir with apologies to Tchaikovsky. That alone intrigues me. I want to hear that.
That's
and
sad.
See that. And then here's the composer's tweet. You can find it on X. I won't play this because I don't want it to be like disappeared, but you can listen to this on X. Stephen Price, give him a follow. Stephen B. Price. Fielding his followers replies. Uh-oh. Wait. See, now look what happened. I hate when this happens. Fielding his followers replies. Price added, animation totally complete and looked great. The whole film was mixed and finished, as well as, this is a weird one for sure, good film, scrubbed from existence. As we reported yesterday, Warner Brothers shelved the finished movie for both a theatrical or a Max release, taking an estimated $30 million write-down instead on the $70 million production. This, despite the fact that the 2024 theatrical release calendar needs movies due to the actors' strike delaying several titles. It's the third time the Zaslav-run administration has axed a movie, the other two being Max's Batgirl and Scoob Holiday Haunt, which weren't fully polished at the time of their cancellation. I mean, this was a finished movie.
Why do they keep
The
doing this
unplugging
shit,
of
man?
Batgirl brought public ire against the studio by the movie's filmmakers, Adil El Arbi and Bilal Falah, as well as its stars. However, this time around, Warner Brothers made sure that they had secured a deal with Coyote vs. Acme filmmaker David Green, who is working on a New Line project. Okay, let's break that down. You're a director, and you've made a movie for Warner Brothers, a $70 million feature. Now, hey, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate, and they're going to allow you to make another movie, and then they shelve your first movie? I mean, I don't know what kind of, I mean, maybe somebody needs to read, go back to Dale.
Like, why would you want to work for them if that's what they do, you know, right? Like, what kind of incentive does that give you to even try?
I know, when I say this all the time, name drop shit, but I'll tell you, when I was back at Warner Brothers, Bob Daly and Terry Semmel ran the
Like,
studios.
well, why should I put any effort into this? Just if you're gonna, if you're probably just gonna shelve
Lisa
it.
Henson was there, Alan Stewart was there, Bob Brassel was there, Thomas Sally was there, Courtney Valenti was in the story department. I mean, it was people that went on to be great. Lorenzo de Bonaventura started working there when I was there. The filmmakers, they had, at Warner Brothers, you had Richard Donner and Joel Silver. You had Silver Pictures and Richard Donner. Their offices, kind of in a big, like an O, but it was kind of a flat O, rectangular O. Silver Pictures was here. Donner's was here. There's a walkway in between, and the story departments on either side. So they had offices on the lot. Clint Eastwood, Malpazzo Productions. He had great. They're still on the lot. Phil Daguerre, who made the 80s Twilight Zone, he was on the lot. You had all of these filmmakers that were on the lot that had deals. And Warner Brothers, why do you think Stanley Kubrick had a deal with Warner Brothers? After he made 2001 with MGM, he went over to Warner Brothers and he made Clockwork Orange, Barry Lyndon, The Shining, Full Metal Jacket, and Eyes Wide Shut. He was there from the early 70s all the way to almost the 2000s when he passed away in 97. Warner Brothers was known for the relationships they had with filmmakers, for better or for worse. So this kind of thing, you want to have an ongoing relationship with a filmmaker, a director, and then you're going to can his first movie? I can't imagine, other than getting cancer and fucking dying, I can't imagine something more demoralizing than the studio you're working for that you just made a deal with to make your second movie shelves your first fucking movie. What does that do to someone's ego?
That's exactly what I just
I'd rather
said.
have erectile dysfunction for the rest of my life than, well, maybe not. Well, because I can still be a cunning linguist. But I would not want to have that. And then you have to work for them again,
Yep.
knowing that, wait, I made a movie that scored in the 90s and you're shelving it? What do I have to make a movie that gets bonus points or does the extra credit question on the test so I can get 103% instead of 100? Is that the only way that you're going to let me have my movie come out theatrically or even on Max?
Pretty
can't even
freaking
imagine
ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Green had the following to say on X. For 3 years, I was lucky enough to make a movie about Wile E. Coyote, the most persistent, passionate, and resilient character of all time. I was surrounded by a brilliant team who poured their souls into this project for a year. We were embraced by test audiences who rewarded us with fantastic scores, and I'm beyond devastated by Warner Brothers' description. Price's colleague and UK composer Daniel Pemberton, who has written several Warner Brothers scores such as Ocean's 8,
No.
Uncle, blasted. This behavior is not only terrible, but any half music creative is going to think twice, signing up huge chunks of their life to throw everything they have at a project from studios that seem pretty cavalier about ever letting that work get seen. Warner Brothers is playing a terrible long game. Really bad. Discussing Films wrote, many filmmakers have come out praising Coyote vs. Acme after Warner Brothers just shelved it for a $30 million write-off. The best of its kind since Roger Rabbit. The leads are super likable, it's beautifully shot, the animation is great, and the ending makes everyone fucking cry. That was Ben David Grabinski. So, there you go. I mean, it's amazing to me. You're running a studio. You're David Zaslav, and believe it, look, I was one of those people that thought David Zaslav would do a great job. I thought he was going to come there and not interfere with creatives. But here's the thing. If you're going to do business, you really should understand the business that you're in. And Hollywood is a business, first and foremost, of relationships. And Hollywood is also a business where, look, everyone's a fucking asshole. And as William Goldman, the great screenwriter, wrote in his book Adventures in the Screen Trade in the 80s, even if you don't work in Hollywood, if you want to read a great book about Hollywood, please read William Goldman, Adventures in the Screen Trade. It's a great, wildly entertaining book. Many of the references will be lost on you because it was written 40 years ago, but still, it's really great. But he says something that has never been more true than today. No one knows anything in Hollywood. Some people do, but he says no one knows anything, and it's true. And I don't think I've seen people that know less than today. And the people that work at Warner Brothers really, really don't know very much, judging by the kinds of things that they're doing. And certainly the people in their home video department know fuck all about their own catalog, which is unfortunate. They should let George Felsenstein run the entirety of home video, but he would never say that. I could say that for him. But it's just, it's frustrating. So there we have people, there we go. By the way, Anonymous sends in a tip and says, do you think Disney is going to drop the Kang Dynasty storyline like it said in the report today? Thoughts on it? Listen, I think Disney is in a world of hurt, and I think no one cares. Honestly, if you were to ask me, I gotta tell you, when I was at Comic-Con and you had Tom Hiddleston come out dressed as Loki in Hall H, I was sitting in the back because they were going to announce the name of the second Avengers movie, and I had my fingers crossed that it was going to be Age of Ultron. I don't know why it got in my head that it was. I don't know if I heard it. I just was sitting there, and he comes out dressed as Loki. Here I am with Glorious Purpose. Fucking 6,000 people are going bananas. That was the greatest Hall H presentation I've seen of all. That Marvel presentation at Comic-Con, and when he announced Age of Ultron, bananas. People went bananas. I was one of them. I was going bananas. I felt like I was looking around going, oh, I'm this old. I shouldn't be this excited. It was incredible. I love the MCU. It's completely fucked up. The MCU right now, as I put it the other day, is in a cul-de-sac. And they don't know they're in a cul-de-sac. They have to turn around and back out. And by the way, nobody would care. Here's the interesting thing right now. Nobody cares where the MCU is. You could start up a movie and have it take place right after Endgame. No one, other than the fact that, okay, Guardians of the Galaxy tied off the Guardians movie's great. But you could have made those movies without the MCU. Spider-Man No Way Home was great, but Peter Parker is where's Peter now? Peter's kind of wherever he wants to be. You're cut off. I mean, the multiverse was closed off. Doctor Strange is out there with Charlize Theron, but other than that, who cares? I mean, I like Shang-Chi a lot. The Eternals, they've made the Eternals completely irrelevant, which is really too bad because I really kind of like that movie. But they've gone.
I don't like the Eternals,
none of the TV
but that's
shows,
okay.
other than Loki's now
That's
God
okay.
of Stories. Okay, I love that. That's cool. That doesn't have any bearing on anything. Where Marvel is right now, nothing they've done in phases 4 and 5 matter. They really don't. If they were to just kind of forget those and move forward, maybe if they could retool Brave New World into something that's really cool, that they could start there. And if they can fix Brave New World and make it a banger, make it a banger. That would be amazing. And then start from there. If they can make it if they have Winter Soldier-esque Brave New World, and it kicks off something that can lead into the Civil War and lead into... Right now, Marvel should just start over. Kang did not work. They didn't do a good job with Kang. All he does is keep getting defeated. Who cares? I like Jonathan Majors a lot, but they really fucked Kang up. I mean, we are getting one Marvel movie in 2024, which is Wolverine, and Deadpool 3, whatever they're going to call it. Deadpool threesome. And that movie, they can... You know what's funny? If they were to have Deadpool, like, here's how Deadpool 3 begins. You just have Deadpool walk out, and he says something effective. You know, in my universe, we get the MCU movies too. And I can't believe where phases 4 and 5 went. I've got something better in mind. And that's how they open Deadpool 3, and we go from there, and they just hey man, reset, whatever. So it wouldn't surprise me. I have no knowledge about it. I don't know what their plans are, but nobody would care. At this point, nobody would care. They can leave those movies. They can use the characters when they want to, if they're well written and all that. Get Marcus and McFeely back, maybe. And you could do something good to write something. Marcus and McFeely are the writers. Get them back to do something. They wrote Infinity War and Endgame and Winter Soldier and Civil War. Nobody would care. I'm telling you, Deadpool 3, if it's the banger that I think it's going to be, that we all think it's going to be, that we all know it's going to be,
Hopefully.
after that you can go anywhere.
Yeah.
Because there is literally no excitement about the MCU right now. There isn't. Nobody cares. Oh, another Marvel movie. They need to give us, and the thing about Deadpool 3 is that it's not really an MCU movie. It's, make no mistake, it's a Fox X-Men movie. Now they're going to bring, I guess, the characters into the MCU, but it's not that. It's the conclusion of the Fox X-Men saga. Call it what you want, and they can go anywhere after that. I mean, hell, they could even use it and tie off everything. They could just say that all of these Phase 4 and Phase 5 movies took place in a different universe. I don't know. But Anonymous, it's an interesting question. It is an interesting question. Now, there's more to this saga. So after the outcry about Coyote versus Acme, Warner Brothers did an about face, even though they've already reported it and taken the write down for quarter 3, they said in the article. So because they realized, somebody must have realized how fucking dumb this move really was. So somebody realized that. Now look at this. This from yesterday. Coyote versus Acme. Warner Bros. Setting up screenings for streamers.
That does
of an
nothing.
axed Looney Tunes film. Amazon Prime candidate. Screenings are being set up this week for streamers Amazon Prime, Apple, and Netflix to check out and potentially acquire Warner Bros. Axed Looney Tunes movie Coyote vs. Acme after the studio's phone rang off the hook the entire weekend from angry filmmakers and talent reps over their third feature film kill after Batgirl and Scoob Holiday Haunt. The more egregious Hollywood sin with Coyote vs. Acme is that it's a finished film intended for theatrical release while the other two movies were still in the works. And it got great test scores. Of those kicking the tires, even though no deals have been drafted, I hear Amazon is the leading contender, given the fact that Courtney Valenti, who worked at Warner Brothers when I worked there in 1990, was a big, Courtney Valenti, the head of, by the way, she was lovely. The head of film, streaming, and theatrical for Amazon Studios and MGM, was a big champion and linchpin for the movie.
I'm gonna kill
while she was
you.
president of production and development at Warner Brothers. All of this boils down to head of Amazon Studios, Jen Salke's sign-off, I understand. During the pandemic, Prime Video acquired Sony's family titles Hotel Transylvania 4 and Cinderella, among other movies. Amazon has been known to take finished films off the table for $100 million and turn them into events for Prime Video, which they could do. I just think whoever picks this up has got to release it theatrically, put a big marketing campaign behind it, and make at least $100 million at the box office. I know that's not enough, but anyway, with the actor strike just ending and everyone's scheduling new product, it seems foolish to have a studio like Warner Brothers leave a branded asset like Coyote vs. Acme lying around and taking a $30 million take write-off on the $70 million production. I agree. It's so weird. With Amazon now in the theatrical game, it'd be interesting to see if Warner Brothers actually allows the streamer to theatrically release Coyote vs. Acme, since the Burbank lot is too cheap to do so given its dire financial straits. Amazon also is a great landing pad for Coyote vs. Acme, as the studio has 3 upcoming movies with star John Cena: Heads of State, Ricky Stanicky, and Grand Death Lotto.
John Cena's getting
Also,
a lot of
during
work.
a very noisy weekend for the movie on social media, with Coyote vs. Acme and Gravity Oscar winner composer calling Warner Brothers a bizarre anti-art studio financial shenanigans I will never understand. Some have told me that the killing of Coyote vs. Acme didn't come from Warner Brothers Discovery's CEO David Zaslav himself. Rather, the blame should be set at the feet of Warner Brothers motion picture bosses Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdy, and Warner Brothers new animation head Bill Damashko, who are being made the scapegoats. The motives here were to protect the Looney Tunes IP and also scrub the studio of product developed by the previous administration. Okay, I've never understood it. If you work at a company and the previous administration made something that's good, fucking release that shit. Get rid of it. Like, this is such a weird... I mean, it happens all the time. That's why we never got Eric Jedrinson's Star Trek movie, Star Trek The Beginning, because that was when studio heads left. And we got J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies instead. Too bad, Karen McCluggage. If only you could have been there and made that. Oh, they can still do it now. They own it. Of course, they don't have any money either. They're probably going to get sold. The only thing wrong with that narrative is that DeLuca and Abdi never had any previous offense of killing a previous administration's finished film or movies. Not until landing with Warner Brothers. As my mother used to say, there's no such thing as coincidence. Also, we understand that DeLuca and Abdi haven't seen the finished Coyote vs. Acme. First of all, how do studio, actually I know how studio executives don't see anything. I could tell you the story of an actor, I'm not going to say who it is. An actor was working on a show that is executive produced by a guy who runs a lot of things. And that actor who's on the show has never met the executive producer who's in charge. It's unbelievable to me. It's unbelievable how, you know what the
Finally.
interesting thing about Hollywood is? The people in Hollywood at the top do the least amount of actual work on these projects. Hollywood's a really interesting business because many of the people that, not all, one of my favorite people, he helped me 25 years ago. He looked at a movie I'd made when I met him when he became an executive at Warner Bros. Lorenzo de Bonaventura. He's one guy, if somebody ever said to me, hey, I'm going to get in business with Lorenzo de Bonaventura, I would say, that guy, stellar dude. Stellar dude. I'm sure there's people that don't like him or whatever, but I can tell you from my perspective, he's an executive that went from being an executive to being a producer. Most of the people in Hollywood that are making these decisions, they've never made movies. They work companies that make movies. and they hire people that make the movies,
That was close.
so they don't know how to make them.
Like really
And it's such
close.
a weird thing. And you do end up getting this crazy thing where you as the movie maker have to deal with people that never actually made it.
Take that.
It's counterproductive.
Stupid.
It's just weird. Anyway,
Yeah, like that.
studios take tax write-downs on completed movies all the time. Remember Paramount's $115 million write-down of animated pick monster trucks in advance of its 2016 theatrical release? It made $64 million worldwide. Go watch the trailer for Monster Trucks and ask yourself, how did that get made? I never saw that. I wanted to, though. The new Warner Brothers Discovery administration needs to have a come to Jesus with itself. Realize that if there's anything worse than taking a feature theatrical slate day and date on Max and keeping talent and filmmakers in the dark on that, it's axing. By the way, that's what they did. The previous AT&T administration did that. They decided during the pandemic, you know what? We're going to make all of our movies, including movies like Dune, we're going to make them all day and date on Max, on HBO Max. I mean, these are decisions that are based on nothing that anybody who ever worked in the entertainment business are making. These are weird Wall Street decisions, analytics
True.
decisions.
Completely
they're looking at
100%
spreadsheets.
true.
So fucking dumb. And
So
anyway, that's what
dumb.
they're referring to. Come to Jesus moment. Realize that if there's anything worse than taking a feature theatrical slate day and date on Max, keeping talent and filmmakers in the dark on that, it's axing finished theatrical films, and even ones that have a ton of footage in the can. Yeah, we hear you. This previous regime's 70 million greenlight movies are too high a cost for Max's direct-to-streaming, but why wasn't it decided early on by Warner Brothers last week that a finished movie would be sold anyway to a streamer, and that money gained on that versus burying it in a vault forever? Coyote vs. Acme has reported high test scores that indicate it's a worthy asset somewhere. While Warner Brothers Discovery CFO Gunnar Wiedenfels said that the media's coverage of Batgirl's cancellation was blown out of proportion back in September of 2022, I guess he wasn't seeing or hearing the harsh criticism from the Hollywood creative community and the film's creatives and talent, both on social and by phone. Of course, because the people that are making these decisions don't fucking know. They don't know. They're in charge of so much money. You'd think that they would, but it's unbelievable to me. It's unbelievable. I've been on the outside. Maybe that's why I've liked my little niche. I can sit there.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the people making decisions don't know what they're doing. They don't know what it's like. Why are you the one making
Also, what
decisions?
does Coyote vs. Acme move by Warner Brothers say to DC bosses?
And how did you end up becoming the one making decisions
And their
if you don't
movies or
know
projects
what you're
are killed
doing?
At a last minute's notice, along with Chris DeFaria,
Makes
Gunn
no
is the producer
sense.
of Coyote vs.
It's very
Acme.
strange.
The Guardians of the Galaxy architect was a co-scribe on the movie, co-screenwriter. We understand that the filmmaker-friendly Gunn and Safran's green lights moving forward are bona fide and not in danger, or bona fide, and not in danger of any tax tricks, or so they say now. The Looney Tunes brand isn't Harry Potter. Well, it's been around for a long time. I mean, the Looney Tunes brand, remember, mostly known for their short subjects. The brand has been turned upside down, reinvented, and reset several times during the course of its 90-year-plus history at Warner Brothers. Certainly a family movie that grosses between 160 million and 200 million.
Yeah, I'd say
worldwide
Looney
wouldn't
Tunes
do
is pretty
damage
well
to the
known.
studio, but
Pretty
rather
well-known
play
brand
directly
for the
to
most
audience
part.
it's supposed to play to.
Maybe a little lost on the younger generations, but
Yes,
for
that's correct.
for people like 30
And,
plus, for sure,
I-
and like
I,
even younger than
I-
that a little bit, you know.
I don't know what's saying. But there's a final bit to this story that happened today, and I think it's hilarious, and I can't wait to jump into what it is. Grendel Prime 1. Look, anybody who's a Matt Wagner Grendel fan, I'm a fan of you. Grendel Prime was interesting. Grendel versus Batman, all right?
Grendel
Prime-
versus
Prime
Batman.
1 says, happy to be a new member. The final straw was the woods are dark. Richard Lehman, still have my tattered high school copy. Can't wait for the first chat with Rob. Cheers. Okay, first of all, Grendel Prime 1, kudos to you. You know, it's funny. So Dave Parker, who directed The Hills Run Red, who just finished the movie. Dave Parker and I talked about, we really want to, I would love to produce The Woods Are Dark and have Dave direct. Richard Lehman wrote that book. I have a slipcase version of it somewhere up here. I would love to make that movie. I think that movie would be baller. You know, but now it's like impossible because any book that was in Grady Hendrix' Paperbacks from Hell, which is like half my paperback collection, it's impossible to get the rights to those books. Maybe I should call a certain horror producer I know, but you know, then people are gonna be like, who's gonna write the script? We'll get Scout to write the script. We'll bring the team that made, from the people that made The Hills Run Red comes The Woods Are Dark. So thanks for becoming a member. It would be great. I'm glad you know, because I throw out these references willy-nilly. Sometimes I don't
stop
even know
moving.
what they are. I don't remember what they are. I just throw them out. But I'm glad that you read that book. You know, did you read Off Season? Remember that? Off Season? If you guys haven't read that movie or that book, it was back in the 80s, the horror splatterpunk. Get some splatter. You need to get some splatterpunk. Here's okay, Off Season's a good one, but as I've always said, since we're talking horror, get John, if you want to read the ultimate heavy metal band from hell, one of my favorite horror novels I ever read, read The Scream. It's called The Scream, not Scream, but The Scream, by John Skipp and Craig Spector. That is one of the most fun, hardcore, balls to the wall horror novels I ever read. So get that. Woods Are Dark's good too, but there you go. Sean Hoover says Taylor Swift should buy Wile E. Coyote and promote it and make $300 million.
Yeah, exactly. That's what she should
you know
do.
what?
Yep, exactly.
Taylor Swift,
She could be the
that would
producer.
be hilarious. Because Taylor Swift has a deal with AMC. If Taylor Swift were to buy Coyote versus Acme, she could go to AMC. They made deals with all
And then
these
make a
other
ton of
theaters.
money on it and laugh at their
And make their own
faces.
ad campaign.
I
Taylor
make
Swift,
product
wow,
of this
that's a
movie.
great idea.
You didn't want to put it out.
Look, we should start a letter writing campaign.
That'd be funny.
Taylor Swift and her people, her company, should buy Coyote versus Acme. I mean, hey, if they were going to write it down, if they're going to take the $30 million write-off, offer them $40 million. You know, go in there,
It's a good
buy it,
idea.
release it theatrically through AMC, and make a fortune. Good on them. I love that. Now let's come to the end of today's story. The end of today's story. This has a very interesting ending.
Making
and, This
10.
comes to us today, once again,
See how the honey's
from
doing.
Anthony D'Alessandro. And here we come to the end. Well, it's not the end of the saga yet because we don't know who's going to buy the movie. If someone's going to buy it, we don't know. Coyote versus Acme melodrama. Congressman bashes Warner Brothers Discovery for scrapping fully made films for tax breaks and calls for a federal probe.
2 hours.
Texas
Oh.
Congressman Joaquin Castro has taken to X to slam Warner Brothers Discovery for axing, the axe of Zaslav, for axing the $70 million Coyote versus Acme for a reported $30 million tax write-off. That said, as we first reported, the studio is changing course this week and screening the film for potential buyers. Amazon Prime, the leading contender, Apple, and Netflix. This pivot by Studio Brass was made after a weekend in which the studio phone rang off the hook as the creative community complained about the canceling of the finished film. There was also an outcry by the Pic's composer, Stephen Price, among others online. We already read that. This is what the senator said. As someone remarked, as a Justice Department and FTC revise their antitrust guidelines, they should review this conduct. As someone remarked, it's like burning down a building for the insurance money. And he added, the Warner Brothers Discovery tactic of scrapping fully made films for tax breaks is predatory and anti-competitive. As the Justice Department and the Federal Trade Commission revise their antitrust guidelines, they should review this conduct. As someone remarked, it's like burning down a building for the insurance money. That's Joaquin Castro at Joaquin Castro, Texas. So it's at JoaquinCastrotx on November 14th. Warner Brothers had no statement regarding today's X-blast by Castro. He's a Democrat, by the way, in Texas. Several sources have told us that in a cost-cutting, debt-laden environment as Warner Brothers Discovery, that it's not CEO David Zaslav to blame here for the axing of the Warner Brothers for the axing of the film. Warner Brothers motion picture bosses Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdi and the new animation head Bill Damaski are the ones who made. Is it Damaski? Maybe it is. The ones who made the decision. This, despite the fact that it's not a production chief's bandwidth to worry about tax write-downs on a movie. That's for accounting and finance to spread over. I have to say that I would be very surprised that Mike DeLuca would do something like this. Very surprised. By the way, Mike DeLuca, you want to hear an interesting fact about Mike DeLuca? Mike DeLuca wrote the screenplay for John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness while he was at New Line. Or maybe he wrote it before he was at, no, I think because I met Mike DeLuca when he first started at New Line on the set, late night, actually in the production office of the set of Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. See, somebody else I met as a kid that got way more successful than me. Go, Mike DeLuca, and I don't believe you did this. The new Warner Brothers Discovery administration doesn't want the problem of the previous administration's green lights, and a $70 million, that's a cost too high for a movie to simply skip theatrical and head to Max. While it's not, it's production bought. I already wrote that. You know what? I'm getting a little punchy. While it's not in a production boss's nature to worry about tax write-offs, they realize that there's a lot of stress over at Warner Brothers Discovery to win in the wake of having the highest grossing movie in the studio's history, and year to date with Barbie at $1.4 billion worldwide. A severe financial savings mentality exudes at Warner Brothers.
Dog was barking something.
Here's what I don't understand. Here's a question I'm
Right
going to
back.
pose to you imagination connoisseurs. If you have had a movie, Coyote vs. Acme, that had done well, and it was supposed to open the day that Barbie opened, why would you not put the trailer for that movie in front of Barbie?
Okay. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Look at this thing. Dude, that's a big frickin' thing. Look at that thing. Ugh. Yeah. Oh, oh, oh. Why does he wear it like that? That seems like a weird way to wear it, though. Okay, what else do I want to make? Let's make a belt. I just want to see what the belt is. Takes up utility. Other than adding weight, does it look? Does it even? Doesn't even look like anything. Can I like? $20 wood, 4 bones, 10. I can do that. Okay. I need to take a break. Get off for a little while. I'll be back. See you guys in a little bit. Well, yeah, see you later.